Welcome back to the Grace Women's Podcast. I'm Jess Wood, and I'm excited to be back with you for another week as we continue our deeper discussion through the book of 2 Samuel. In the future, we may also continue to use this podcast for opportunities to discuss difficult other passages or difficult topics, but no matter what, we will spend this time and it will be an encouragement to all of us as we continue to grow and learn and mature together as the women of grace. So this week, there are a few questions that were submitted. And let me tell you as we begin, you can submit your questions before the teaching time. If they're answered in the teaching, I can skip over them or I can add more detail to them. So feel free to send them as you're doing your homework. Our first question is, hey, I thought Jericho was destroyed when Joshua led Israel around it. So why did David have the messengers who were shamed stay there? Was Jericho partially rebuilt? This is a great question. You know your history, and I love that. Jericho had, in fact, been destroyed during the time of Joshua, but there's no evidence here to direct us in 2 Samuel that Jericho had been rebuilt at this time. We know it was rebuilt later. In 1 Kings chapter 16, we are told Jericho's rebuilt. So why would David send these men to Jericho? Well, remember how these men had just been treated in our study this week. They were completely humiliated. Their beards had been shaved in half, their garments cut so that they were exposed. They were full of shame here. It would be shameful for them to return home. So David sends them to Jericho because it's a desolate place. This isn't a city that's thriving. There's not people that are like living there. People probably still traveled through there or around Jericho, but people may have just kind of hung out there when they were kind of lost, honestly. So it is a perfect place for these men to stay and let their beards grow back before they can return home, not in shame. The second question we got was, why were David's sons made priests if they were not a descendant of Aaron? We see this mentioned in 1 Chronicles 18 as well. In 1 Chronicles 18, it says that David's sons were the chief officials in the service of the king. But here in 2 Samuel, it uses the word priest. The Hebrew word for the word priest in 2 Samuel and the Hebrew word for the words chief officials in 1 Chronicles 18, those are actually two different Hebrew words being used. We do see this word for priest in 2 Samuel used again later on in the book to describe yet another man that is said to be another priest to David. This Hebrew word for priest literally means priest, principal officer, or chief ruler. And so you might think, oh, is that the same as in 1 Chronicles? What I want to be clear is that David's sons did not receive some sort of special privilege to be a priest in the same sense that the descendants of Aaron had. Most likely, David's sons were performing some kind of priestly duties. This was their role within the organization of David's kingdom. But they were not priests in the Levitical sense. Our last question for this week's passage takes us back to chapter 9. Why did Ziba need to farm the land for Mephibosheth? I love this question. David, as we know, restored the land of Saul to Mephibosheth because this was his inheritance. So Ziba's farming this land because Mephibosheth physically couldn't. Remember, he was lame in both feet, but also because David wanted Mephibosheth to sit at his table, the king's table. Mephibosheth is given the land back because it is his inheritance. So in order to keep his inheritance well, it had to be taken care of. In order for his family to have this inheritance for the rest of their lives, someone had to take care of the land currently at that time. So David makes Ziba do it. That would be why. So thank you for listening to our Grace Women's podcast. If you have a question from our reading, be sure to submit it. We may address it in a future episode. As a reminder, we will be taking a break next week for spring break, but I look forward to hearing your questions from chapters 11 and 12